Narcissism is a term that is being heard everywhere these days. People are coining other people narcissistic, are saying people are narcissists, but we don't really know the depths of what the terminology means. Today, Jodi Pavlock is back. She shared her story of being in a very abusive, toxic, narcissistic relationship. And if you have not gone back, she has a show on our channel. So please go back and listen to those episodes because they give so many good things that would explain what a narcissist is like. And she so vulnerably shared her story and, in fact, wrote a book on it. Jekyll Can't Hide. Amazing book. We will link that in the show notes for you later. Today, we are going to be defining narcissistic terminology. What do these terms related to this concept mean? And in the hopes that we can, reach people and help people understand what this is and help them recognize it and then get the F out of there. If you have not liked or subscribed to The Advisor, please do so now so we can continue to provide you with amazing content and people like Jodi. So good to see you again.
Yes, you as well.
Yeah, how are things?
Very good, very good. Excited to be back.
Yeah, so excited to have you. It felt like yesterday that we were doing the last episode, and here we
Yes.
are again.
Yes, goes fast.
Goes fast is right. I'm really excited because, like I was telling you before we started recording, I don't really know if I understand fully what these terms are. So let's go over some of the terms that are related to narcissism and see if we can really define them.
Absolutely. Yes, thank you. I'm going to touch on like a couple of key points which are the main things that happen in narcissistic abusive relationships. One of the biggest words that a lot of people hear thrown around is trauma bonding. And the simple terms of it is a strong emotional attachment that develops between a person and their abuser, often in the context of a cycle pattern of abuse. This bond forms due to the intermittent reinforcement of positive behaviors by the abuser, intersped with periods of abuse or mistreatment. The victim experiences a confusing mix of emotions, including loyalty and affection for the abuser, making it difficult to leave with the abuser situation. So it's
Mm.
very like hard because you actually get addicted to the highs and the lows and you don't realize it when you're in it because again I've lived through it and you feel like why am I guess another word would be codependent and like an attachment style, and that's normally not me, so when you have this trauma bond, this stuff going on mentally, in a sense, this is what it is. So when you really divulge into it, that's a big thing, the trauma bond. That's probably one of the biggest things with narcissists, and that's what you have to break. There was one saying, it said, it's easy to leave a man that you hate, but it's survival to leave a man that you love and break the trauma bond. And that's, that hit home for me because that was my complete situation. So that's
There's a
one.
there's a difference between longing for someone and missing someone
Yes.
than feeling like you need them or you can't go to sleep if they're not home or just that feeling of like that need. I feel like that is how I feel that what you just said, like trauma bond is like needing someone to complete you where we should complete ourselves.
Yes, absolutely. And trauma bonding really goes hand in hand with walking on eggshells. It's not like that anxious, like, oh, I can't wait for him to get home. For me, towards the end, it was the dread and me looking out the window because I was on eggshells, like, oh crap, like what's going to go down today? So, that's unfortunately what happens. Um, this is another big word, cognitive dissonance. It's the mental discomfort experienced when holding two or more conflicting beliefs, ideas, or values, or when actions clash with beliefs. This conflict creates psychological tension, motivating individuals to reduce the discomfort by changing their beliefs, behaviors, or justifying inconsistency. So it's kind of like when you have two different beliefs. It's like, I love him and I hate him. Then it's like, he can't do this to me, but wait, he is doing it to me. So it's like a kind of another form of gaslighting, but it's just on another level because they're doing it. And then you're kind of subconsciously doing it to yourself. That's like the more simplicity of that definition. So, again, things that you don't realize when you're in it, or if you do start to realize, then you're kind of coming out of the fog and to the realization, hey, I'm with the narcissist. This is not going to be a great life to be lived if I stay. So that's a big
Right.
key.
Do you have a real life example of that?
Um, I would say like in the book, which I touched on, when I presented the evidence to my ex of the affair, and he'd be like, "No, that's not a real picture. That was photoshopped." Photoshopped. They
Okay.
deny your reality. That's like the biggest, easiest way to describe it. No, this was sent to me by somebody I know who would not lie to me, and it was time stamped, and there was like four other people who witnessed him with her, and then I was sent that photo. And then you actually have this moment like, wait, no, maybe they took this picture and sent it like on a different date. You have that split second that you really want to believe them so bad when you want it to work out so bad, but then your psyche goes back to normal and it's like, no, this person is lying to you right in front of your face, and they will have the straightest face and not even flinch. And that's the scariest part too, because it's like actor of the year. They will never ever see fault with their behavior or admit to it.
Yes. Oh my God, I've been there. And I've like wanted so bad for him to be the one. Like I wanted him so bad to show up, just admit to me. Like I would have had so much freaking respect for him in that moment.
Yes.
And there couldn't have been more evidence. It's like imagine a courtroom full of evidence. And then he's like, no, that's not true. Like that's all in your mind. And I thought
Yeah.
I was losing my shit. And then
Yes.
I'm like, and then slowly you start developing this boundary and this wall because you lose respect for them. But
Yes.
it happens
So,
later on. Then you
yep.
question your sanity, and that's insane.
Yes. And you go through these little motions, little by little. And then it's like that, the trauma bonding, the positive reinforcement, the breadcrumbing back and forth. But when you have these little realizations, then you kind of piece everything together and you're like, wait a minute, it's not me. And again, like I said, I'm not perfect. Nobody is. But in a narcissist world, everything's, everybody else's fault. They're perfect. They can get away with anything they want to, but you can't do anything wrong. So it's crazy.
So
Definitely.
I guess I have a question then. So there's emotionally immature people who they
Yep.
just really don't have the skills to maybe face a hard conversation. What do you think the difference between an emotionally immature person and a narcissist would be? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I no, I get what you mean. I guess like an emotionally immature person is just somebody who's just, looking for a fling or just wanted to just, say with infidelity, just have an affair and just not admit to it because they're just not emotionally mature. Oh, well, I just met her. We had a couple of drinks the other night, but I still want to be with you, but I don't want to let you know what I did because you might get rid of me. That's kind of
Right.
more of a selfish thing. But a narcissist does it because they feel entitled to do what they want. And they think their partner, because at the beginning, they actually ideal you. Like they just put you on a pedestal in a sense. They think that you're going to be the answer to all their problems, which nobody is. You have to be the answer to all your problems, whatever that is, reading books, self-help, climbing the corporate ladder, whatever it is. You can't look to somebody to be your answers and prayers and everything. And then once that happens, they take you off the pedestal, they start devaluing you. And then it goes into control mode, and they think that you're their possession and they just want to control every aspect of your life. And part of it is putting you down on a daily level. So that's where, that cognitive dissonance is. It's like, oh, well, I could get away with cheating. I'm never going to tell you the truth, but don't you dare make eyes with that guy at the grocery store because I know you're going to go and, meet him at 12 midnight when he's off and go have fun with him. It's the mentality. It's just they're not normal. That's the best thing to describe it, you know. And again, it's not a make fun thing. It's just a fact. It really is. They think on a completely different level, but it's all for themselves, and they don't care who they hurt in the meanwhile. And then to me, the most important is they know every step of the way the abuse, how they're hurting the other person, and the damage that they cause. And they do not care and they continue to do it. See, that to me is just insidious. You're just not a good person. You're not even human because normal people with empathy, you know, you make a mistake once, okay, you correct it. You do it twice. Now, this is a behavior that might turn into something that's going to keep being repeated. You need help. You're going to keep doing something three, four, five, 10 times. You have an issue and you're doing it on purpose. That's mental and that's sick in the head. It really is.
Yeah, I remember my ex. So when I was going through a really low self-esteem time, um, he would if I was feeling really good about myself and we were
Mhm.
out and I was confident and like happy, he would purposely look at another woman. It doesn't even matter what they look like. He would look at them
Yep.
in a way that was like meant to make me jealous. It was like he was trying to get a reaction out of me to
Yes.
like squash me down so that my
Mhm.
outgoing confidence wasn't so loud. And I remember like thinking that that's what was happening. I'm like, I don't think anyone would actually do that. Like, would they? And then it happened over and over again. And then I called him out on it. He's like, I don't even know what you're talking about. That's craziness. But
Yeah.
I know in my heart, like I could feel it, right?
Yes.
But then I was thinking I was crazy. I'm like, am I actually a super jealous person? Like, what the hell's going on?
Yes.
So that's like the cycle of crazy. It's like they constantly
Mhm.
want to squash you down and make you feel
Yes.
small, especially when you're shining.
Yes, exactly. They don't like your light and they want to squish down your self-esteem. And my ex used to do the same thing all the time, kind of from the beginning, little by little, but I thought it was more like he just wanted attention and validation. Again, this is when I thought he was misjudged. But as time went on, he would do it more and more and more. And then he would actually get mad because I am not the jealous type. And I would just ignore him. Or towards the end, when I was getting really frustrated with him, you know, he would make a comment like some woman on the beach, oh, look at that one, and da 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 da. So instead of me getting angry, and I'm like, well, look at that guy with the six pack. Don't you wish you had one? You know, like I would do the digs, and that's normally not me, but you know, you want to go eye for eye, then let's go. And that wasn't the normal me. But after a while, everybody has their breaking point and they keep pushing you. So I
Yeah.
totally get it. He did the same thing. And it's like, I guess the whole thing behind that is they want to show the facade that they think that they can always get somebody else. Like if you were to leave them, oh, I'll have a new one the next day. No, honey, you have three lined up while you were with me. It's not
Yeah.
about getting a new one, you know. And then like with my ex, you know, he's almost 60 and he's picking up, you know, married women at the nursing home. Okay, if you think that's a life accomplishment, bravo, go ahead, buddy. Have a nice
Yeah.
life. You know, so they think like I don't know, it's just like I said, a validation thing. And I think for my ex, he really can't grasp and cope with that he's getting older. And we used to talk about, hey, this second chapter of your life is going to be better. You have a good woman, you know, meaning me, by your side. And, you know, we had all these plans, which is another word I will get into, which is future faking. And, you know, he just, I don't know. I don't know if it was a midlife crisis or this. I mean, it really was. This is the true him, but they just want to defy everything and just, you know, throw away years of a relationship just for an affair and just to say, hey, look at me, I still got it. It's really pathetic when you think about it.
It truly, truly is. And it's because it's their lack of self-esteem, you know. But
Yes.
I know for me, like, I remember the first time I was talking to this guy at a sports event, and it was just a conversation. It was so innocent. It was
Mhm.
just me talking to a man, like, of a different sex.
Yep.
And then my ex, like, purposely looked at this woman to see if I would react to it. It was like he was getting me back for it, but it was like because he
Yep.
wanted my full. I couldn't look at, and I remember that moment, I'm like, shit, like if I do that, then he's going to do that. And it made me
Mhm.
feel like I was like like with blinders on. And I was like I
Yeah.
couldn't do anything or talk to anybody. And it literally felt like I was in a jail cell.
Yes,
Like
you
from
couldn't
that
be
point,
yourself.
he completely made me feel just like completely like shit. Like as an empath, it affects you. And yeah, that's a scary place to be.
It is, it truly is. And like you said, when you're out of it, you're like, wow, like why did I stay that long? But again, when you're in love with somebody and trauma bonded, it's twice as hard to leave. So I mean, I get it. I try to take it easy on myself, as should everybody else who's in these situations. And then there's like another word, gaslighting is a very big term. And the simple form of it is gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation where a person subtly tries to make another person doubt their sanity, perception of reality, or memories. It involves denying, distorting, or fabricating information to make the victim question their own judgment and experience. So that's like another big one. And for example, one time my ex and I, when we were at the second go around, the patch up phase, I'll call it, I got some kind of message because whoever reads the book will know I had anonymous messages, and that's how I found out about the affair. Somebody sent me a screenshot from an unknown number, and it said there was a reservation made for like March 23rd at Hard Rock, Atlantic City. And he told me he was working that day because at that point I wasn't living with him. I had moved out the first time we broke up and I never moved back in the second time. I wanted to see how things were going. And we were in the car together. I think we were just going to grab something to eat. And I said, Frank, I said, what is this? I said, you told me you were working. I said, at the place I got you a job. I said, how do you have a night overnight in Atlantic City? And it said like he confirmed like he was there in that. And he's like, oh, that was my friend John. I got him a comp room and he went overnight while I was working. And I said, no. I said, that's not true because I think I mentioned on the last podcast, I also have my gaming license for the state of New Jersey, which is called the casino hosting license. I know the ins and outs of how it works with the comp system. You cannot give a room to somebody, a comp room. The only way you can do that is if you were physically there, you gave them your credit card. So, like, say I wanted to take you to Atlantic City and you wanted to use the room, I would have to physically be there. I would have to check myself in, give my credit card, and then hand you my room key, and then you could
Right.
use it. So, how could he give a comp room away when he was in, the Lyndhurst, New Jersey area? And Atlantic City is 2.5 hours away when you supposedly were working. Yeah, I'm not a dumb blonde like you think I am, honey. So he was trying to gaslight me into saying, oh, no, no, you got it wrong. They got a new system there. I said, Frank, don't fucking fuck with me. Okay. I said,
Yeah.
excuse my language. I said, because now I was being a different conformed Jodi, not putting up with this bullshit. And I knew it wasn't going to end well, but I was still trying to hold on, if that makes sense. And he got so nervous and he was holding my hand and he just kept rubbing it, because he was getting nervous and he never really got nervous around me. But, when you're confronting
Mm.
them about something, what kind of lie could we make up? No, no, I'm telling you, babe, they let me do the comp thing. And I'm like, uh-huh, uh-huh. So we went and got something to eat and phew, he just dropped me off, back to my parents where I was staying at that point, real fast after that, because he didn't want me to keep asking questions the rest of the night. And I was uncomfortable the rest of the time because I'm like, what are we doing? And then you start to question your own sanity. Like,
Yeah.
maybe they did change the thing. Maybe he did pay off his host to like let him get in. I'm like thinking like Jodi, no, no, don't let him keep lying to you. Don't
Yeah.
do that. And you have that battle with yourself because you so desperately want to believe them. You want to believe that they changed. And for me, it was you want to believe in potential that they don't have. Oh, that was the hardest realization for me. That's what I was holding on to.
Yeah.
Potential, but the main part, that is not there. You think it is, you hope, you want, but it's not there. So
Yeah.
that was the one of the key gaslighting moments there because they'll just lie about anything. If the
Yeah.
sky's blue right now, they're going to be like, no, it's red. And they will argue with you night and day and just keep saying it's red until you just give up and be like, okay, it's red. Because you just feel
Yeah.
defeated at that point. They have to always win. It's about winning with them. You can't outsmart them. And you know what I did, the whole book and everything. Woo, not a happy camper, but oh well. I'm here to help other women and not be in these situations.
Yeah, and I
So
feel like in that moment where you knew he was lying, I'm gonna bet that you went through in your mind with don't ask any more questions because I know for me it was like if you continue investigating, you're gonna come across as even weaker, right? So if
yeah,
if I if I called the company, if I called the hotel, or if then I would go down this rabbit hole and I didn't want to feel less than. So I would always stop myself from asking more questions and I would just agree. And then that feeling of total disconnect and distrust, it was so sickening. Like I imagine you went through that too.
yes, yes, I did. It was just crazy on every level with everything. I mean, when I knew these key words, especially getting my recovery coach certification, but then when I'm like actually reading it again, I'm like, oh my God, it brings you back to so many things. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
And this next term is kind of a newer one that a lot of people don't know. It's one that I just mentioned before, future faking. The
Oh yeah.
terminology, yeah, it's a big one. It's a manipulative tactic where someone makes grandiose promises about a shared future with another person, but has no genuine intention of fulfilling them. This behavior is often associated with narcissistic traits and is used to create a false sense of security and emotional attachment, keeping the other person invested in the relationship. The future
Hmm.
faker aims to gain control, prevent the other person from exploring other relationships or opportunities, and ultimately benefit themselves in the present. And let me tell you, that was classically what happened to me for years because I was with Frank 8.5, almost going on 9 years, long time. And I
That
would talk,
is, yeah.
yeah, I don't remember exactly what point. Maybe it was like 3, 4 years in, maybe even longer into it, I started talking about marriage because in the beginning, I said in the book, he swore off marriage. He goes, I was married before, I'm never going to get married again. And I told him, I said, well, I'll be honest. I said, I really would like to be married again. I didn't want children. I knew he was older. He had two stepchildren that were grown. They were around my age. And, we joked about that because of the age difference. And I knew I couldn't have kids. And I just wanted to be married again. That's it. That was one of my things. I wanted in life to be a wife. And oh, so desperately did I want to be his. I just said, second go around is going to be much better. And for the longest time, he'd say, nah, I'm not getting married again. And, once in a while, I would tease him, like, hey, when you going to pop the question, whatever. But then I said, you know what? You shouldn't not that I was forcing myself on anybody, but I kind of always felt like I had to prove myself to him, which was sad because again, nobody's perfect, but I was so good to him, ran the house, cooked, cleaned, ran his business, his taxes. I mean, I would go out of my way and make him special meals. When he worked like a dog, I would drive to his job and drop him off like extra lunch because he was, he loved to eat, out of a house and home because he loved my cooking. And I would do special things and, buy him like, special cupcakes if he came home 10 o'clock at night because I knew he loved that. So I always tried to do things to make him feel special and happy. And it was never reciprocated. I mean, like just to get a hug or a kiss out of him was like ridiculous. So at one point I was like, you know what? Even though, I still want to be with him and I'd love to be married, I'm going to stop talking about marriage. And I tell you, I'd stopped talking about a year and a half. I didn't mention a word about marriage, nothing. Magically, he proposed. I was
Wow.
shocked. I couldn't believe it because I was like, where did this come from? I was happy. I mean, don't get me wrong. And this was like right in the beginning of like the really bad problems. We had a little bit like towards the middle of the book, like, if you read it. But I was happy because I was like, oh my God, like, holy shit. He finally grew up. He finally realized he has a diamond in the rough here. And it's like, hey, I got a good girl. Like this is the best I'm gonna get. I mean, I should be grateful for her. Let me marry her, do the right thing. And it wasn't even about like, just doing it for me. I wanted him to get married because he wanted to be my husband also. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a two-way street. So he proposed. And with the whole future faking thing, I'd say maybe a year later, it was one of these incidences that happened. I don't think I put this part in the book because, like I said, I stuck to the highest to highs and lowest to lows. But we went on some trip. He got blasted drunk as usual, shocker, was very abusive. And I don't remember what he was yelling at me for, but he kept saying, "Get the F away from me." And then in his drunken state, he goes, "I only proposed to you to shut you the fuck up." That's what he said, to shut you the fuck up. And he would say that a couple other times when he was drunk. And you don't know how that killed my heart because I'm like, you proposed to me to shut me up? Honey, I stopped talking about marriage for a year and a half because I didn't think I'm sorry, would have the balls to propose. Because to
Mm.
me, and everybody is different in the relationships, I'm just speaking on my behalf. When you're in a relationship, and now it might be different, but back then, when you have a fantastic woman in your life, and then, I thought he was halfway decent at the time. If anybody was settling for anybody, it was me with him. You know, you take that with a grain of salt and say, hey, I really love this person. I know I can have a nice life if he would just say behave and just conform a little bit. But, that's part of being a man. When you're in a relationship with somebody that many years and you have a good woman that does everything and does right by you, and they want to get married that badly, you propose, you get married. That's part of being a man. I'm sorry, proposing to a woman and being husband and wife. And other men that don't do it, it's kind of like sissy acts to me. Again, this is just for me, my personal experience. Now it's a little different because I don't know if I ever want to get married again. He truly ruined so many things for me on so many levels. And I don't know if I'll ever get back to feeling the way I did about certain things. But if I didn't, it's okay. This is the new Jodi. I accept it. I embrace it. And I don't hold on to anger. There's no more anger. It's just, there's always going to be that underlying hurt. That's really where it just comes down to. But I'll never forgive him. That's one thing. I think it was Dr. Romney said this whole thing with this podcast, and I posted it on my TikTok. She said, I will never forgive them. I can sleep peacefully at night. She goes, I think the people that forgive are the ones that keep inviting narcissists back into their life. And they're the ones who keep having issues with boundaries. But the people who don't forgive are the ones who have the boundaries and just say, hey, let me take this as a learning lesson, learn to have self love and boundaries and move on. And again, everybody is different. I'm all for somebody else who was in the same exact situation as me and they can forgive their abuser. I can't because it was too calculated, it was too manipulative, and he knew he sliced through my heart a million times. I can't forgive that because it wasn't just one drunken night affair, a mistake. It was a calculated affair to shred me to pieces, which he did temporarily, but I built myself back up. A phoenix rises from the ashes. So I cannot forgive behavior like that. And that's one of my boundaries. That's what I stick by. So that whole future faking thing, I mean, that's like a big thing. And it's sad because so many people waste their time hoping and wishing and dreaming. And to me, I'm not saying it's funny, but the funny part with him is I never gave him an ultimatum. I'll be honest, I'm pretty much 99% sure I would have never left him, even if he didn't propose, because I wanted a life with him that bad. It was the affair that broke, the camel's back. So, he didn't do me any favors by proposing and then, screwing it all up by, being a disgusting narcissist. So, again, they just future fake, I guess, in his mind, because like we were saying, they have no self-esteem. They're empty inside and depressed and lonely or whatever they're feeling. And I understand that, but you have to recognize these patterns and work on yourself as a person. You can't, project that onto other people and then give them mental health issues. So
Yeah.
he just made it 10 times worse doing it. So, like I said, there was no ultimatum. So that's why I was shocked. But I guess in his mind, he figured, oh, Jodi stopped talking about marriage for a year and a half. I bet you she's going to leave me. I bet you she's going to go screw the next guy she makes eyes with. I bet you, when things get really good, she's going to have an affair. All these things go in their mind from what I've read because they have to give them, the person they're with, false hope to stay. I mean, I was just happy that he finally proposed. I'm like, finally. And trust me, he struggled with the proposal. Oh my God. It was nothing romantic. But that was just him. He just struggled with connecting with me. It was very odd, but yet we were so drawn to each other. It was the weirdest thing. Now that I
Yeah.
think of, so
It's
that yeah, that's another big one. And then I'm sure you've heard of this one, the smear campaign, and they all do it in their steps. It's also referred to as a smear tactic or just simply a smear. It's an effort to damage or call into question someone's reputation by propaganding negative propaganda. And my ex certainly did it. A long story short, I think he took me off, or I took him off of Facebook like the day after we first broke up, the first breakup. And I shut down my Facebook because I was like completely devastated. You're literally out of your mind when something happens like this, a complete shock. So I just shut it down. I reopened a new Facebook when we got back together for those 4 months. And I didn't care about Facebook at the time. I did it as a test. And he wouldn't add me back on. And I kept saying, well, if we're back together, why wouldn't you add me back on Facebook? Because that was like his shining star to always, put us on there. And like I said in the book, he had never gotten public with everybody. And I was gone for like maybe 2 months before we got back together. For about 6 months before we broke up, he stopped posting me. And again, it's not about Facebook and me wanting to be the center of attention. I'm just saying the tactics that they do, you could see that something was happening. And he kept saying, "Oh, it's because of my job. I can't really like post public stuff." I said, "Public stuff?" I said, "We're going out to dinner. I'm taking a picture of pasta. What are you talking about? We're not doing anything."
right. Yeah.
So I just thought he was like just a little cuckoo, which everybody knows he is. And then I found out he had, and he still has, his mistress on Facebook, and he's telling her one thing and he's telling me
Right.
another. So we figured get rid of Jodi on there. But let me make it clear, his mistress is married and knew of me. So they both made a pact to say, I'm going to cheat on Jodi, my fiance, and you're going to cheat on your husband, and we're going to keep it to ourselves. Guess again. I
Yeah.
found out. Okay. So, I mean, that's how sick, and I think she's maybe a narcissist too, as mistress. I don't know. I don't care. My whole thing is about my narcissist who I was with and what I went through to educate people to not do what I did. So he went on, and this is kind of funny because it's a joke. His smear campaign was going all over Facebook. And again, it's things I couldn't see because I had completely blocked him when I left him the second time. Well, remember, he wasn't my friend on there, but I went under and I blocked him. I did not want to see what he said, did whatever. But there were certain things that, let's just say, got circulated back to me. This is before the book even came out. I was writing it. Nobody knew, just me and my best friend knew I was writing the book. And he would go around saying, "Oh yeah, I'm uh I'm gonna find a new girl," or whatever he said, that has a real job and's not a gold digger and not a this and not a that. And it's funny because he would always go around telling people he was a millionaire, and it was embarrassing. He's not a millionaire. He, worked for a civil service job. No shame in that. That's exactly what my stepfather did for a living. And I got him a good job 2.5 years ago and working in Lyndhurst. And he makes decent money. He has his business on the side. He does okay for himself, pretty good, very expensive area where we live, but he's not a millionaire. And I used to get embarrassed when he said that. Just stop. But I wasn't the type to yell at him and, and slap his hand. Don't say that in public. I just let him talk. I didn't say anything. But, again, my friends all laughed because I think there's a saying. They said, "Jodi, they're going around saying he's saying you're a gold digger, but he's got no gold to dig." I said, "I know."
Mhm.
It's just, and it's a saying, but it's true, you know?
Yeah, narcissists, they like to brag about their lives, even if it's
Yes.
not true.
Oh,
Like
so
they make
much.
shit up
They
and
do.
they don't listen. They just want everyone to be like, oh my God, that's amazing. It's
Yes.
like, it makes no sense.
It makes no sense. And again, whoever reads the book, I'll just tell one little part of the book. Everything is 100% true in there. My parents raised me to be a good woman with manners. And even if somebody does you dirty or wrong, you do the right thing in life. You just, you don't seek revenge. You don't steal, lie, cheat. You just don't do those things. That was how I was raised. Okay. And even the situation I was put in with my ex, I would never do him dirty like that. I wrote this book for me. I wrote this to help people in the same situations avoid the mistakes I made. That's it. So in one of the chapters, I forget which one it was, when I first left my ex, it's funny because they have this paranoia and trust issues, but when it comes down to it, he knew he could trust me with his life. He knew deep down that I would never steal from him. I would never lie. I would never cheat. But he always accused me of all three. Okay. Like I said, I ran his business, social security card. I mean, I had access to everything. Never took $1 from him. Never. Okay. I swear on my Father in heaven, never did. Never would do that. When I first left him, I was holding, I think, exactly $57,000 cash in an old pocketbook for him. He was paranoid with money. He would have some in an account. He would like me to squirrel away money, and then he'd have me send it out. Oh, send it out to the timeshare in Aruba. Save this for just in case if we need a new roof, whatever the case.
Right.
And we didn't put our money together, but I paid him rent. I paid all these bills in the house, but that's what he liked me to do. I don't argue. You want me to hold your money? No problem. I'll never friggin' touch it. And again, with the gaslighting thing, I used to do a system on an envelope. If it was July 5th, 2022, and he gave me 2,500, I would write it on the envelope. And then I'd write what the total was in the envelope. Because again, when you're in an abusive relationship, you actually start getting a little bit of brain damage. I think I've touched on this the last
Yeah.
time, and it was his brain fog. And I didn't realize it then. I do have it from the fibromyalgia too, but I would forget very easily. And then on top of him browbeating me every day and then calling me a liar and a cheat and I'm stealing, I'm like, no, I'm going to write down on the envelope so I know it's not me just forgetting and it's not him gaslighting me now. Write down what was in it, everything. So he knew with money, and I always showed him on the envelope, look, this is what you gave me that day. Oh, that's right, babe. You're right. I gave you an extra 1,000. No, no, no. Don't try to screw with me. So that's what I did. So when I left him the first time, I had the $57,000. Yes, I could have taken that cash, could have went to another country, could have bought a new car, could have used it to move in my new apartment. No, even though he did me dirty in the most horriblest way, it's not my money. So it was given back. I gave it to my stepfather. I left him on a Friday. It was given back to him on a Monday morning. His cousin was staying at the time. Went to the door, gave it to the cousin. Of course, he ran away like the little bitch he is. He didn't want to talk to my stepdad. And his cousin gave him the money. But after I gave him $57,000 cash, he started the smear campaign saying that I'm a gold digger and that I stole from him. I mean, really, like, are we kidding right now? And a lot of people were so perplexed because, again, social media is a great thing when it's used properly. When we were together, when things were good, they were good. When they were bad, they were bad. But I didn't let anybody know on social media. I only let my friends know, especially my best friend,
Yeah,
especially.
most people keep that to themselves because it's so all encompassing. And so you're
Yeah.
trying to figure it out and you don't want to say it out loud because
Mhm.
you don't even know where to start, really,
Exactly.
right? Like it's
Yeah.
isolating.
It's a hard thing. So you got to imagine for years we were on Facebook every day, and he'd be like, "Oh, me and my baby, me and my girl are going here, and oh, my girl made me my Yukon Gold mashed potatoes I love. Poppy came home from dinner. She gave me a surprise, made me cupcakes. Her mother made me deviled eggs, so nice." And bum. We take all these great photos together, and everybody even told him, "You look so happy," and they would tell me, "You look so happy." Well, we were. I was at least, but it was under false pretenses. And him, I think he truly was happy for a long time. I really don't know what happened, but I think part of it was he was scared to get married. he wanted out. And he just fell back into his bad habits. Narcissists do what they do best, and they can only hold up the mask as long as they
Mhm.
can. But then more importantly, they always live a double life. And I found out after I left him, maybe not to the extent what he was doing at the end, but he was living a double life. There was always other women that he was cheating on
Yeah,
me from day one. I had no idea because if I would have knew the first time, it would have devastated me. But I would have been like, phew, out. But they are so good and convincing at hiding things. So when you find this out at the end, you're like, oh my God. But I guess he was happy, because he was getting away with sleeping with other women. He had me at home being his slave and paying rent and, going on vacations with him and doing all this fun stuff. And to him, he was happy as a pig in shit. He's like, oh, look at me. I'm the greatest guy that ever walked. No. But
yeah,
that's what they live for. They live for that validation and they will seek it from anybody and anything. So
absolutely.
that was another big thing, the smear campaign. And then another word is breadcrumbing. That's a big one. And it's narcissistic breadcrumbing is a manipulation strategy used to keep a person chasing a trail of intermittent validation, love, or attention. Breadcrumbing is sporadic niceness, which keeps the victim stuck in a cycle of hope when the abuser is actually attentive and nice to them, and disappointment when the abuse is attentive and nasty to them again. This behavior creates an emotional roller coaster for the victim, leaving them hooked on the relationship with no real security or commitment shown by the abuser. As they say, hope is a powerful drug, and so is this behavior. It plays on the victim's inbuilt optimism that things will get better if they just hang on. So the breadcrumbing really goes hand in hand with the trauma bonding. So they know, and I'm telling you, it's happened to me so many times. If they're like really nasty and distant for like 3 days, then the next day they'll act as if everything's great, and then they'll want that hug or kiss, or they'll call you 50 times a day. And you think it's like, oh, okay, they were just going through some shit, or a little like midlife crisis, or they're just being a bitch for a couple of days, whatever the case that comes up. But now they're actually training you to be compliant to them.
Well, it was like what you said. When you disconnected from the needing to be married, then he proposed. So it's like when you finally separate yourself from it, they can feel that disconnect and then they get rattled and then they need to love bomb the shit out of you to like reel you back in. It's like you're out there on their line. You're still hooked onto their fishing line, but you're so much farther away. You're finally getting away and then they start reeling you back in by
Yes.
doing the things that they know you want them to do. So they're smart. They
Yes.
know how to get you back in there. So as soon as you start disconnecting, that's when they start reeling you back in. And that is 100% breadcrumbing.
Absolutely. And they know it. And he knew how important was to me to get married again because, like I said, it was just something that I wanted so badly as a kid. And since my first marriage failed and his first marriage failed, I'm like, no, it's better the second time, like they would always say. And I said, we're gonna make it work. And then, it's kind of heartbreaking in a way because we came so close to the finish line, but he ruined it. But again, if it was meant to be, he wouldn't have done what he done. And to me, there was like a saying, which is kind of true. I guess I was so gun ho on getting married too, which is in a sense true. They say you really are single until you're married, which is, kind of how today's society is. Everybody's like swiping left, swiping right on
Oh,
online
yeah, it's
dating
so hard
sites.
to commit
It really is. And again,
for the young people.
yes, it really is. But you know what? I've seen a lot of it in people in their 40s and 50s too, unfortunately.
Yeah, because
So,
they think that there's something bigger and better out there because of the
yes.
illusion that social media gives. And the dopamine hit of like swiping, getting messages, talking to a new person. It's
Yeah,
definitely it's a very toxic environment. And
it is.
being with one person and being committed is few and far between these days.
It is, and everybody's always told me like from years ago that like Jodi, you're an old soul. I'm like, listen, I am. I'm old school mannered. I believe in marriage, and even when in a relationship, I believe in just being with that person. I'm not going out and dates with 10 different guys, whatever. I'm fully committed to you. And, one of my biggest mistakes I did too was when I was with Frank, he got all the wife benefits at a girlfriend price. And where did it
Yeah.
get me? Traumatized, but I enjoyed doing it, and it wasn't to
Yeah, I
show
was
off.
gonna say, I feel like that's you were just being you,
Yeah,
and
I was.
unfortunately he didn't appreciate that. And so I don't feel like that's something you need to change. I just feel like it's an unfortunate situation.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
he
It's
didn't
just,
even know what he had. And I'm sure he realized when you finally left. And now he's realizing what he has, because that's also what happens with narcissists is they start to realize they fucked up when
oh
they
yeah,
lose what they had,
yep.
but it's not in a way, it's not in a healthy way. It's like, okay, they finally see like what they lost, and that can be a dangerous place as well, because that is
It is.
where the past comes back to test you. And so
Mhm.
that's where you need to like remain with your boundary and say there's no
Yeah,
way I'm going to allow myself to get back in there, because they also do that. Suddenly they're going to do things that you wanted them to do for years, and then it makes you question, have they changed? And so I think
yes.
that's an episode in itself, but we're almost out of time today. Do we have any more terms?
Yes, there is three more, but I'll make them quick. One is hoovering. That is the act of sucking you back into the relationship, either after a fight or at the point you decide to leave the relationship. It can involve promises of changed behaviors, excessive gift giving, or things like intense makeup sex, where finally they focus on you. These behaviors are attempts to lure you back in so they continue exploiting you for their own gain. So they know exactly, and that's what happened the second time around with me. He knew to go through my best friend because she's empathetic too, to reel me back in. So that's another big term. Mirroring is another one. It involves copying and acting because narcissists lack social and relational skills. They often study their victims and look for clues how to act normally to fit in. This is how many narcissists go unnoticed by others other than their partner. Mirroring allows them to behave in ways that most people do so they can avoid being called out for their behavior. So, exactly, again, it's psychological. They know how to behave in public for the most part. So people don't believe when the abuse happens. But as I depict in my book, he was going off the rails off of a classic narcissist and abusing me in public. So, that was unfortunate, but it was more validation, people seeing it. I know they would believe me, but they saw it firsthand. Silent treatment's another one. This is a manipulation tactic for covert narcissist, my ex Frank. The silent treatment is passive aggressive behavior intended to coerce or control you. They want you to actually like lose it and go into a panic and walk on eggshells so then they can have emotional abuse against you. So they want you to like basically beg for them to talk to you. And that's another control tactic. And another one is triangulation. It involves the use of a third person to destabilize you. Narcissists love comparing you to others to make you do something they want you to do to remain control of you. An example is comparing you to their ex to make you feel inferior and ultimately to have you do the thing you are reluctant to do or uncomfortable about doing. So they like to compare you to other people and say, why can't you be like this person? Why can't you do it better like them? And it just gives you a low self-esteem. And then the last one a lot of people should know is flying monkeys. They are people who have also been manipulated by the abusive narcissist, but who join their team and take sides with them for countless reasons. So let's just say there's a lot of flying monkeys, idiots on my ex's side, and they watch and they hover. I don't care. I don't say anything. I just do what I'm here to do. I write my book. I'm here to help people and speak about it. And it's just classic narcissists. They send people out to see what you're doing because when they're blocked and everything, yes, they can make fake accounts. Now there's no way for me to, find that out. Everything's public what I do. Again, you want to watch me? Go grab some popcorn and soda. Go watch. I got a lot to say. So, and like I said, I'm here to help people. I'm at that healing point now where really nothing bothers me. And I just want my message heard. And I just want others to realize these key terms, and they can even divulge into them more and look up videos about them and get into it, because I know it's a lot of words thrown in. It's a lot for somebody to take in, but these are the key points that they do. And it's scary because, as dumb as they are sometimes, they're intelligent in the manipulation field. Oh, they are. But then on some hands, they get lazy, like my ex, or they just think they're never going to get caught, or maybe they want to, and then they want to keep reeling you back in. And it's a sick game. Sometimes they want to see how many times you're going to go back and forth. So, they have all these manipulation tactics, and it's really good to know the terminology, look it up if you're confused about it. You can even, like I said, talk to a therapist or watch podcasts like this that, we divulge into the whole narcissism world. And hopefully you can just recognize if you're in this pattern of abuse and get out. That's the most important for sure.
Thank you so much for being here and for defining all of those terms and relating them to your personal experience. This is very vulnerable of you, and I know it's going to impact a lot of people. So, where can people find your book, Jekyll Can't Hide, which talks
Yes.
about your full story?
Yes, the full story. It's Jekyll Can't Hide, spelled Hyde. Good play on words there. They can find it on Amazon. It's on like 15 other smaller platforms as well. You can go on www.jodilynpavlock.com, and you can also buy the book on there. And it's also on Barnes and Nobles online right now. We're waiting to get them in the stores, but online it's been really popular. So you could go on there, check it out. I'm on all different kinds of social media. I have a narcissistic abusive group, Jody's Triumph. Anybody wants to talk or confide, anybody can DM me. I'm here to listen and help.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thank you for having me again. Nice seeing you.
Nice seeing you too. I look forward to the next episode where we
Absolutely.
dive deeper into narcissism.
Yes, for sure.
Amazing. And to our audience, thanks for tuning in. Just like we talked about last time, if you're suffering or struggling or feel trapped, there are tons of resources out there. Jodi just provided you with one, so please don't struggle alone. Until next time, bye everyone.
Bye.